gentlemen, what is the worst restaurant to be arrested in?
Mm. I mean, it's got to be fast food, some fast food joint, right?
Is it?
You got to think it'd be a fast food joint.
I don't know. There's no more rainforest cafes, huh? Or is there?
I don't know if they're completely gone, but I know they've gotten rid of a lot of them.
The one at Fisherman's Wharf is gone. I know that. I remember that being a place in San Francisco. But you can imagine if there's like a like a jungle thing going on. The lights are all dark and the animals are making noises, and someone's like, "Put your hands up."
Ooh, that would terrify me.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be a shitty place to go. God, Applebee's would suck. You're eating good in the neighborhood.
Oh, any of those Fridays. Yeah, Fridays, Applebee's. What's another one of those places? It's like a third one. Outback Steakhouse.
That's a good one.
Or Red Lobster.
But also, like, you got to think of the food, though, right? Like, whatever you're having, you'd obviously be very sad to have that meal as your last meal. Like, if I'm at Red Lobster, I'd be devastated to have someone arrest me while I'm eating my cheddar biscuits.
Hold on. It's not your last meal. You still are going to have food in prison unless you're executed.
Look, dude, I'm taking this as if I'm being put on death row and they're not going to give me anything but ramen noodles without any seasoning and fish.
That's not a thing.
You don't know that.
If you prison rules, if you are executed by death row, you get a last meal, and they actually do a pretty good job with it sometimes.
What would you have
as my last meal?
Yeah.
Ooh, man.
So you turn it around on you.
No, I like. Well, my first line of questioning was because of this guy. What's his name? Luigi Mangione.
Yeah, you got to say it with that.
It's the new Tommy Cutlets.
Yep.
This guy. Look, he's the CEO killer. He killed a United Healthcare CEO.
Yes.
Okay. First off, let me say this. People that are championing this guy, look, I get that United Healthcare company or whatever is evil. I get that. People die every day from not getting healthcare. It's sad. But I'm not going to justify a man murdering somebody in the name of showing up a billionaire. I find that gross. I'm sorry. Call me crazy.
I don't think you are. It's this weird obsession that we have with these
eat the rich,
these kind of anti-heroes.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, I know a lot of people lost their lives probably under his watch as a CEO, but
totally understand that.
I don't really think that means that he deserves to have his taken away.
No, I'm never going to justify murder. I'm sorry. That's not my thing.
Yeah, I can't really tell you that I'm in that boat. Although having this figure, this Luigi guy,
it's
fascinating.
It is fascinating.
It's also opened up an avenue for a lot of different AI generated Luigi from Super Mario Brothers Luigi memes. I mean, when he was being taken away and arrested and he was saying all that stuff about how you're insulting the intelligence of the American people living their lives, blah, blah, blah. Someone in the background who's filming is saying, Luigi, it's a me, a Mario.
I mean, that's funny for us, but I'm sure come on, dude, stop being an asshole.
There was one guy in the back who started laughing, but he's like, come on, man.
I know. That was inappropriate. That was totally inappropriate.
But you got to laugh because
no, you do. It was funny. It was like that's a solid riff in the moment. I definitely will say that.
Luigi, it's a me.
Luigi, it's a me. It's a Mario. So there's that. And also him getting arrested at McDonald's and the people that are ratting out people at McDonald's too. By the way, did you see that Burger King, I guess, tweeted out, "We ain't got no snitches here." It's pretty good. It's a pretty good line. Pretty good line. And I guess Luigi Mangione was eating a hash brown while he was getting arrested. You told me that.
Yes, that is correct. Although it might not be correct. I just okay. So there you go. Ernie did say eating a hash brown. Yeah, he was eating a hash brown.
So to answer your question, or the question that I prompted originally, what restaurant would I not want to be caught in?
Mm-hmm.
God, maybe like a like a what's that one place? Corral, Golden Corral.
Golden Corral, that would suck.
Yeah, no one wants to be caught there. And for my
No.
meal, I want to make it as hard as possible on the guards. So basically, when you die, you shit yourself. So whatever I'm eating, I want to be messy as hell for all those people to clean up. So steaks, ice cream, the whole works. A big old
Should have had
burrito.
what I had. You should have had what I had for dinner last night. Then, oh, it was a burrito. I made a burrito here. And It was just like with this leftover beef and I made some beans and I forgot what else I put in there, but oh boy, yeah, it was not pretty this morning. Good Lord.
Good to know. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. I'll say this right away. I lost in picks. I lost by 1. Oh, I made a comeback too, and we didn't take the scores. I probably would have tied you if we took the scores, the over under,
or
the I know the point total. So I will have to do the hot sauce challenge. I will say this: it's been a long day for your boy. I haven't eaten anything all day, just breakfast. No. So can we wait till Saturday so I don't just shit all over myself tomorrow?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
We will get to a lot tonight. The Warriors are playing right now as we speak. They're playing in this ever so important Emirates Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And not in the Emirates Cup, but the tournament or whatever the hell you want to call it. And they're currently losing to the Houston Rockets 26-20. We will give you updates. We'll keep you abreast, a booby of the game as the game transpires. Because then it would be 16 consecutive wins over the Houston Rockets, and I love that because I hate those damn Rockets. I think I've said this enough in the past week on the radio show or here. Do you know how much I hate the Houston Rockets?
How much do you hate the Houston Rockets, Derek?
A lot, because I grew up in Houston, and everybody loved Tracy McGrady, and I don't need to go down this road. I think Tracy McGrady is a little overrated, and I just can't stand him. I hate the James Harden team. This team's getting good again. Not a fan of the Houston Rockets.
I am not a fan of the basketball court that they are currently instituting here for said Emirates Cup tournament. It's too red.
I hear you on that one.
It's too red. I forgot who was playing yesterday. There was someone on a court, and I couldn't even see the ball.
Was it Bucks and who were the Bucks playing?
Well, there was also the Thunder.
Thunder and Mavericks.
It was too much. I can't see the court. I don't know if it was in Dallas, though, but I know it was the Thunder who made the game-winning play. You can't see the ball. This red court, it's too much, man. It's too much of an eyesore.
Yeah, I mean, look, I talked to Mark Spears about this yesterday, and I asked him, do you think there's going to still be intrigue with this Emirates Cup stuff? And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, the players are getting paid $500,000 to do this. I'm like, I get that. But from the fan perspective, are you in? I know you were kind of into it last year. Are you into it again this year?
I'm into competitive basketball, and if it makes the games more competitive, then I'm all for it.
All right, fair enough. But
am I going to sit here and sulk if the Warriors are bounced out of the quarterfinal? No,
I mean, the Warriors are bigger fish to fry. We don't need to spend a ton of time on this, but the performance. We talked about it last podcast. You thought that Draymond Green is a little more hurt than anticipated, and that's why they're doing the Jonathan Kuminga thing. I think it's a little bit of both. Now, the funny thing is, the next night they had to start Draymond Green, and he played well. He did the night slam dunked right in Rudy Gobert's face. It was fun, but I think they're trying to give a tryout to Jonathan Kuminga. They need to figure out what his future is. But if I had to guess which way they're leaning, they want to trade him. And it's no coincidence that as soon as Jonathan Kuminga has a big performance, every day we hear something new about Jimmy Butler or the 3 Brooklyn Nets players, Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson, or Dennis Schroeder. And then Michael Wilbon's throwing out hypotheticals of LeBron James joining the Warriors. I think that is slim. The Jimmy Butler stuff is interesting. I wouldn't trade Andrew Wiggins along with him. And I guess the Phoenix Suns are a part of that now. The rumored teams are the Phoenix Suns, the Rockets, the Mavericks, or the Warriors. I would say right now probably Jimmy Butler's going to get traded. And I wouldn't mind him being on the Warriors, but I don't want to give up Andrew Wiggins in that scenario.
It's a tough ask, man. There was a lot to unpack from that. First off, with Kuminga, I was probably wrong out of on 2 of 3 fronts. One being the Draymond Green angle. Maybe he's not as hurt as I thought because, look, man, I was just giving that info, and I tried making an opinion out of that info. That opinion,
that's fair.
probably wrong about whether about the fact that he's more hurt than we think. But
Can I hold on? Can I back you up on that one? I don't think you were wrong, Steven. I just think that they were trying their best to ease him in, but they were like, "Look, you're good to go. You got to start tonight. Andrew Wiggins isn't here. You're going to play."
Maybe, and maybe that's it. But also with the Kuminga thing, I do think they are kind of showcasing him.
Yeah.
But where I'm wrong, maybe the league doesn't know what they have in him. One of my talking points last podcast was that the league already knows. Like, he's in his 4th year now. You kind of know what you're going to get. He's a total boomer bust player who can take over a game. He's proven that he can do that, but he is not much of a playmaker. He is a scorer, but he needs that play to be made for him. And he is a great on-ball defender when he's in the half court. Sometimes is a good help defender, but he can't be that number one dude. Like Andrew Wiggins is known as the top defender. Obviously, he's missing again tonight, but I was wrong on that as well. So maybe the league really doesn't know what there is with Jonathan Kuminga, and that's why the Warriors are showcasing him. I just don't know what the answer is, man. I've been racking my brain. Like I'm looking at these these candidates to trade for, and like, is it really worth giving them up? Like, I know he's a restricted free agent or whatever, and I think Kuminga is a restricted free agent.
No, unrestricted.
He's unrestricted. Okay. God, there's just so much of that. But
oh God, this court is red. Jesus Christ.
Is there anyone? It's like Snoop Dogg's eyes. Is anyone?
You could have done better than that.
Sorry. Is anyone?
It's as red as the devil's dick.
I mean, is there anyone really worth trading Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins for? Like, is Jimmy Butler really worth it?
No, I don't think Wiggins should be moved at all. I think that, yeah, I'm with you on that one, man. I go back and forth on that. Like, Jimmy Butler would be good defensively, but offensively, and I'm not as, like, the other day, like, Tim and Copes made fun of me for being like, I'm good. They don't need to win another championship. I've said that before on this podcast. I am so grateful for what I've saw in the 4 championships that I'm not, like, hell-bent on mortgaging the future for Steph Curry. Now, I understand there's only a limited time left with him, but, like, is really Jimmy Butler the answer? And you look at the other options. I don't like Dennis Schroeder. I don't really know if Cam Thomas or Cam Johnson or Dorian. Well, either one.
Either of the Cams.
Isn't there 2 Cams on the Brooklyn Nets?
Correct. Yeah, but the one that was written about was Johnson.
Yeah, I know it was Cam Johnson. Mark Spears brought up Cam Thomas as well. I don't know. Those don't move the needle. If anything, yeah, like, if you're gonna make a move, it would be Jimmy Butler. Is it worth trading Kuminga for? Probably yes. Is it worth trading Andrew Wiggins as well? No, not for me.
It's also, we don't know if he's going to be a fit. We really don't know. God, I'd really wonder what it would be like having him and Draymond on the court at the same time, though. That would be something.
It would be like Andre Iguodala and Draymond.
Because it's like we're having the same conversation as last year almost, where it's the Warriors can make a move. Sure. Is that going to get them to a championship? I don't know. Is that going to have them competing with teams in the West? I don't know. But as currently constructed, I don't think this team is going to compete with others in the West. So
no, I agree.
You might have to make a move. Do those 3 kind of, I don't want to say role players. Dorian Finney-Smith and Dennis Schroeder and Cam Johnson are all very good in their own right, and their contracts are very favorable. But is that what's going to get them over the hump? I
don't think so.
I don't know. I maybe not, just because they're not like the biggest names, but we've seen what Dorian Finney-Smith can do on a team like the Mavs. Yeah. Dennis Schroeder can score with the best of them. And there's Cam Johnson. Like, and to be honest, I don't really know much about Cam Johnson's game. I think he went to Duke. That's all I know about him, or Kentucky, one of those blue teams. But, or even North Carolina. I don't know. But I don't know, man. I just don't know. I'm already tired of this trade talk. This is the thing. This is all ESPN has when it comes to basketball. No one has any interest in this stuff. So ESPN just always peddles out these trade rumors that aren't going to happen until February, because we have to wait for 2 months. Like Sham's writing, well, these next the Warriors present and future can be dictated in these 2 months. Yeah, what about the games, dude? Like,
That's, dude, I mean, that is why we're having these NBA Emirates Cups, because even the media personalities don't want to talk about the games on a day in and day out basis of the outcomes of the NBA season. They get bored, and the players get bored, and it's just a problem right now. Speaking of North Carolina,
they need to start the season on Christmas Day, and also
shortened season.
Yes, or even just actually, yeah, you can't extend it, but yeah, I shorten season. You don't need 82. But anyway, also to the LeBron thing, feels like Windhorse.
He brought that up too.
Not to Windhorse's knowledge, but he's saying the exact same thing as last year. But now they're dangling out the Team USA angle. It feels like this is just a way for LeBron's camp to push the Lakers to try and build around him because he's clearly unhappy with what they got.
No, you're right about that.
That's what it feels like. It's like Windhorse brings up this whole thing about how it's the same last year than Team USA, but at the end of the day, it's up to LeBron. He has a no trade clause, and he wants them to upgrade the roster. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay, so that's what you're doing.
No, 100%.
You're going out there. You're telling Windbag. I love Windhorse. Actually, I'm a fan of Windhorse. He's a really good writer, but he I just think he's being used.
One of us.
I think he's being used right now as just a way for the Lakers to maybe try and get LeBron a couple of pieces around him.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, if any, there's no chance in hell, and I would throw up if
I think we got a delivery here. I'm sorry. Hang on 1 second. Jess, we got a delivery. We got a delivery.
It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Stay tuned. We got a delivery.
Okay. I wonder what Steven ordered. You know, I was going to order food tonight too, and you don't see me walking away from the podcast. Real dedication from Steven Langford here to leave the show to get whatever he ordered. If you had to guess what he ordered tonight, what would you guys think? Chinese? Maybe a burrito? Domino's? Never was a big Domino's guy myself.
Box for Jesse. I don't know. What?
Oh, it's not even food.
No, it's some sorry. I know. That's disrespectful, but I had no other option.
My God, you got excited there. Good Lord.
Yeah.
They never come to the door.
Yeah, well, there you go.
All right. Well, I hope it was a great delivery.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I mean, I would never entertain LeBron James going to the Warriors, and plus you have to get Bronny in that trade too. So no, thank you. All right, the news of the day. While everyone was anticipating Corbin Burns possibly signing with the Giants, and that still could be on the table, we'll get to Willy Adames joining the Giants later. Steven, I want to get your thoughts on that.
Do you? You don't have to, Derek. It's okay.
You put it in the show tweet.
Yeah.
All right. So real quick, Willy Adames, thoughts?
Love it.
I've been doing research on this guy. Can't say anything negative about it.
No.
He's career highs and home runs and RBIs last year, stolen bases. Kind of a feisty guy, a red ass, gets into it with Jesse Winker. Yeah, and he's got a good personality. He's fun. Yeah, I like the move.
They needed it.
Yep. We'll see about Corbin Burns. All right, this move today. I did not see this happening.
Yeah.
I saw all the rumors, and you saw like the North Carolina student paper write about it, and Ollie Conley or whatever his name is was the first to report about it, but he got it right. And I'm shocked. Bill Belichick is going to be your head coach of North Carolina football. I am flabbergasted. When I saw the actual tweet come out, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I thought for sure he was going to go back to the NFL. He's 14 wins away from surpassing Don Shula as the all-time winning coach. And I know he's 72 years old, but why now? Why do college football? I know his father, I guess, was an assistant coach in the 50s to North Carolina football. But like, I know he's got like this whole, was it organizational Bible where he's going to make this a pipeline to the NFL. And Steven Belichick, his son, is going to be the coach in waiting, kind of like the same situation with Belichick when he was the coach in waiting with the New York Jets and then spurred them when he was introduced as head coach, just told him I'm out. I don't want to work with Woody Johnson. This is nuts. And Michael Lombardi is leaving his job at Visson to go be the general manager of North Carolina. And I'm sure he's going to have Josh McDaniels and Matt Patricia and the whole gang come along with him. I'm just shocked. He must have known that NFL owners were interested in him, but not interested in him where he was going to have full control. I'm fucking shocked. I did not see Bill Belichick doing this.
No, especially with the whole wins record thing. But yeah, really clearly, the University of North Carolina, like, God, they must have really made him an offer he can't refuse and just accepted any demand that he had. Because what was the one sticking point with the Falcons? They didn't want to give him full control, and Bill Belichick wanted full control of that team. Maybe he called around and maybe he heard from these other NFL teams, like, you're not going to be treated like a college coach. You are going to be treated like an NFL coach, but you're not going to have all the say around here. And North Carolina obviously changed that. It's fascinating, man. I think it's great that we're having Bill Belichick back in football. And I don't know. The NFL's weird, man. The NFL's in a weird place right now. Like, there seems to be a huge separation between, like, the really good teams and the really bad teams. Like, the bad teams stink. Like, they're really bad. It feels like there's maybe like one or two of them every year. But this year it feels like we have 5 or 6 that just have no chance of winning. College football, I think, might have had a better product this year compared to the NFL, which it does, I guess, a lot of years. But maybe Bill Belichick just didn't like the way the league was turning. I really can't. I really don't know. I really don't know what the answer is. I'm as shocked as you are.
Yeah, I mean, looking at, I guess it makes sense in the grand scheme of things of how the ACC is set up right now. You have Clemson as the conference champions, and they got in, and very controversial for the CFP that they get in over Alabama, or actually SMU gets in over Alabama. I mean, my whole thing is SMU deserved to get in with how they got back in that ACC championship game against Clemson. And also, Alabama shouldn't have lost 3 games, should have lost to Vanderbilt. So whatever, that's my opinion on that. The Belichick may see an opportunity in the ACC to win a championship, but then again, like, I don't know how long it's going to take to turn that program around where they are going to be college football champions. I think that's the whole goal of what Belichick wants to do. I think he is a coach. He's arguably the best coach of all time, and he's an arrogant coach. And he didn't want to be told, we can't do it your way. Like, I think probably why he settled on this was because no matter what the situation was going to be, whether it be the Dallas Cowboys, whether it be the Jacksonville Jaguars, or it even would be the Philadelphia Eagles, if he was going to take a head coaching job, he was going to have to learn to play ball with whoever the GM was going to be.
Right.
And with the Dallas Cowboys, he was not going to be the man in charge. That is a family-run business with Jerry and Steven, and he was not going to have final say and stuff. And I thought that maybe they could have worked it out between him and Jerry because his mentor, Bill Parcells, tolerated Jerry Jones. But then again, he left, and he had a hard time with Jerry Jones. So maybe that was never going to work out. Shad Khan, I would assume, was going to give him full autonomy of the whole situation. Mm-hmm. But maybe he's like, no, I think Trent Baalke's done a good job, and I'm keeping him as GM. And then Philadelphia, I'm assuming that he would have been able to work with Howie Roseman. But then again, does Nick Sirianni deserve to be fired? Right now, no. Because he is winning. But then again, you would ask, what the hell does he do? So we'll see what happens playoff time there. But yeah, man, it's puzzling to me because I think also this is the only situation in the country that was going to give him full control like this. Like, literally every single thing he asked for, I'm assuming he got.
Yeah.
And like Steven Belichick is going to be the head coach you're waiting there. I'm assuming he's going to leave Washington as defensive coordinator and be defensive coordinator for his father. So yeah, I'm still just flabbergasted by the whole thing. And yeah, like, it's a 3-year contract. He gets $30 million, so $10 million a year. He's not the highest paid college football coach. It may just be a 1-year thing for him. Like, I could see that too, where he sets it up. Like, maybe there's not a stipulation in the contract of how long he has to coach. Maybe it's literally just him being like, all right, I'll coach North Carolina for 1 year. Does it, and he's like, all right, I'm out. Steven, you're the head coach now. Could North Carolina be mad at him for that?
No, I don't think so. It reminds me of me, Derek, in my my playing career back in baseball.
Baby, me.
Yeah, reminds me of my playing days when, look, I can speak from experience here. Okay, I played Little League. Play a little bit of high school. Took a year off. Then I needed a new challenge. I needed something fresh. And so I went back to what was called Big League at the time, which was
Big League Chew.
Yes, which was for teenagers that were too old to play in Little League, but didn't have high school ball anymore. Reminds me of that a lot, Derek, where I just needed a fresh start. Needed something new.
All right.
But in all seriousness, I do think that also plays into Belichick's decision, though. Like, I think
a new challenge.
Yeah, dude. Like, being able to recruit your own players and literally, as you mentioned, have full control of everything. Like, build your team from the ground up. I think that's a pretty cool prospect for him. Though he may not be the highest paid coach, he's got to be making. I mean, money talks. He's got to be making something pretty nice.
He's making $10 million a year.
Oh, he going to be emotionally available for his girlfriend, man? I'm worried about that.
Dude, she's going to be front and center, man. Like, she fits in with the college crowd. 25 years old. You can make all the jokes you want, like dating a 25-year-old girl, and God, he's going to be on the campus now. God, can you imagine Belichick just like, yeah. That's what I like about these these college girls.
Dude, come on. Has like an Urban Meyer type of scandal. We're
God, can you imagine that?
We're on to Florida State.
Yeah. We're on to Clemson. We're on to SMU.
We're on to Cal.
We're on to Stanford. God,
we're on to SMU.
Yeah, we're. Can you imagine he just says that? Yeah, we're on to SMU. We're on to SMU. I'm not talking about these girls. I'm talking about SMU. It's gonna be crazy, man. You're gonna see like Gronk and Edelman on the sideline for these games.
Oh no.
Rob Ninkovich. I'm just thinking of obscure Patriots now.
Obscure ones? Vince Wilfork.
Or
Eddie
Matt Castle.
Matt Castle?
Yeah, why not? Matt Castle or I would say Danny Amendola, but I think him and Belichick don't like each other right now.
Yeah, didn't he not go to the roast, or was he there?
Amendola said something about him in the Dynasty documentary.
Right. Yeah.
And to that point, how of a hit job that was. I'm not sure Robert Kraft kind of muddied the waters for Bill Belichick to make an NFL return. Because like that's how he didn't get the Falcons job, is he talked to Arthur Blank, and was like, yeah, you can hire Bill, but you're getting a lot of bullshit with him.
There's a lot that goes into it, man. There is a lot.
Yeah, but like it's funny today. Like once that news broke, all of the ACC teams were like tweeting out their schedule and being like, "All right, UCF, check it out this season. September 20th, Bill comes to town," and Cal did the same thing. It's like he's gonna be the probably college game day, week 1. They're going to North Carolina. Him and Dion, like they are probably the biggest, and Dabo Sweeney and Kirby Smart. Those are probably your biggest personalities in college football right now. Even though Bill won't have a big personality, he is big because he's Bill.
Dan Lanning's got to be up there too now, right?
Oh yeah, Dan Lanning. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, man. I am disappointed because while college football will definitely see a bump from Belichick being a part of it, I wanted to see him back in the NFL. I really did. I wanted to see him. I thought the Jaguars probably was the best spot for him. But then again, I'm like, he probably's like, I don't want to have to go to Jacksonville and resurrect Trevor Lawrence's career. I don't want to deal with that shit. I'd rather just, do my own thing.
I'm the opposite, man. I'm sad that he has to leave his media obligations. I think he's been terrific in this role. I actually like him. I used to hate him as a coach. I respected him, but I didn't like him. I like him as this guy. I like this version of Belichick.
Why? Because he had no personality?
Yes, exactly. because he had no personality and he was a cheater. He was a winner, but he was a cheater. And he
come
also
on.
gave me some of the worst years of my life, Derek.
What, just the tuck rule?
Nah, just because they won all the time. And the Patriots are a dynasty. I hated them. So I liked him better as in the TV role, where he's sitting there with the Manning brothers, making the Manning cast better. On Inside the NFL, cracking jokes with Chris Long and Chad Ochocinco. On Pat McAfee show, where he cracks a smile every now and again. I liked that version of Belichick.
Yeah, I know, but we both know that wasn't going to be forever.
So what? I could still not like the version that he's going to become. Didn't like him as a coach. Like him now.
He'll definitely go back to the hoodies, and he'll definitely be short with the media. And you know what? UNC doesn't care because they're getting the full shebang with Belichick.
We're also not going to question anything that he does. The media is going to be like, the media is not going to be like in Boston where they're going after him, trying to find every little nook and cranny of problems that he has with his life. Like, no, that's not going to happen. So that North Carolina media is going to love him. Maybe even he'll give them some answers instead of the Alonzo 98% bullshit.
Was that your best Denzel?
That was not my best, but I put it in there.
You know what? I read this because it entertains me. But it's 98% bullshit, but I read it. So by all means, you tell me a story.
You know he's serious when he tucks his chin, raises his eyebrows.
Yep. It's actually one of my favorite scenes where he's like, wow, that's incredible. And you could be on the field for an entire year with a fine chick like that. And that's the best fucking story you come up with? But I don't believe you. You tapped that ass, didn't you?
You tapped that
ass. Yeah, no, and that's another thing too, just real quick. There might be a little bit of ageism to this as well, because I think the NFL wants to get younger. I think that all the names you're hearing about this offseason are Vrabel and Ben Johnson and all the young guys, and Belichick was a part of that. But Pete Carroll's name is brought up every now and then, and I don't think Pete Carroll's coming back to the NFL. I think that people just think that he's too old. He's 73. I think there is a little bit of he can't relate to the players anymore. And I think it's going to be very difficult for Bill to relate to these college players, but I don't think UNC cares. I think they want to build a NFL pipeline. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting.
He'll connect with him, man. He's got his girlfriend.
That's true. Yeah, that's true, actually.
Come on. I mean, they're going to be calling audibles with, like, I don't know, skibbity toilet or whatever other brain rot terms that they have out there nowadays.
Yeah, this will be interesting. He's like asking his girl, like, so how do I relate to these kids? The Rizzler? Who the hell's that?
Have you ever seen these brain rot terms, Derek?
Brain rot terms? No.
Yeah. That's what they're called. They're these, like, it's this terminology used by the younger generation now, and they use here. I'll pull up an article. They use certain words. Obviously,
I know the skibbity toilet. Like that's like what, like making fun of like a scat man.
I don't know. Brain rot. 2024 word of the year: a mental or intellectual decline due to the overconsumption of online content, particularly from social media. Brain rot. Sigma. Skibbity. Mogging. Gat. Mewing, Riz, Phantom Tax.
No, hold on. Gat is large butt cheeks or buttocks?
Gat. Yeah. It's when you look at, when I, for example, when I look at Jesse and I say, Gat.
Well,
did you not hear that at the wedding? I said that in my vows.
No.
Yeah. I vow to always say, Gat, whenever I see you.
Well, hey, that's a loving way of showing affection.
Yeah.
Yep. Should we talk about the actual games being played, Steven?
Do we have to?
Let's talk about this Raider game. I mean, there's not a lot to say. Raiders lose 28-13. They're on their way to hopefully the number 1 seed.
Yep.
Aiden O'Connell out for the season with a knee bruise.
Can he return? Or is he really done for the year? I thought he could return.
I thought he was done.
Whew.
A knee bone bruise? That's what I read.
Yeah, I read that he's could come back though.
If that's the case, I don't know if we're getting the Desmond Ridder revenge game on Monday Night Football for the whole world to see.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah, it's Desmond Ritter, I believe, the rest of the way. I could be wrong. Let me double check about that. Aiden O'Connell.
I don't know, dude. It's like, what's the point? What's the point? Put him back in. Okay. That game was ugly, and the only thing that stands out from that game,
no, you are right. Back at practice.
What stands out from that game, Derek? Number one, there's only one thing, and that's Jackson Powers Johnson. Okay, I see it on a screen pass when he just shoves the defensive tackle technique, pushes him, bounces to the outside, finds the open safety who's coming in for the tackle, and boom, lays him out. Saw it a couple of different times. That's my only takeaway from this game. Only positive. Jackson Powers Johnson, baby. That's it.
Yeah, I wish I could give you a follow-up to that, but I'll take your word on that.
Thanks.
And I'll bring up this too. I'll send it to you right now, Steven. Have you seen Antonio Pierce give his explanation for how he does fourth down decisions?
Honestly, man, I haven't looked at anything that he says because I just don't want to hear what he has to say.
Well, we're gonna do it right now because I just DM'd it to you.
Fair enough.
This is everything that I thought with him.
No.
This pretty much epitomizes the way he does his coaching. This is Antonio Pierce being asked how he decides fourth down decisions.
All right.
That's in game when it comes to analytics and just the gut feeling, in game situations.
Yeah. Probably me is more gut, but analytics plays into it to a degree. But all the information is given to me throughout the week, and each game, each situation is different. So my whole life and how I've coached and played has been off of gut.
What is the balance in game?
It's off of gut. It's off of gut. There's no rhyme or reason to him doing any of this shit. And there's no rhyme or reason to.
Off of gut.
Oh,
it's off of gut. It's gutalytics, as the Coach Speak media Twitter account said.
Nice.
There's no rhyme or reason to him doing a 58-yard field goal attempt or going forward on 4th and 5 when he should be kicking a field goal. This guy seems like a fine leader of men at times last year, but he's not an NFL coach. He shouldn't have been put in this position. The fans wanted him, and Max Crosby wanted him. The players wanted him. He deserved the job after beating the Chiefs. But it's time to move on. And it sounds like Mark Davis is leading that direction. I guess I read something today where it's like, he's not happy with the way the team has performed this year, but it's unfair to determine his fate right now. And I get that. But there's better options out there. Now that Belichick's off the table, everyone's going to be clamoring for Mike Vrabel. You got to go after him. And if it turns out that we didn't get the guy we wanted, let's just run it back with Antonio Pierce, I think that'd be a huge mistake.
I believe so too. And I think what speaks to just how cool of a person Antonio Pierce is just because of last season, how the players rallied around him. Then as I got some time with him, I think both Devontae and Josh Jacobs realized, okay, this guy can't be the head coach though. I think also what you're seeing with former NFL players who are now analysts, you'll find that a lot of them actually like Pierce a lot and think that he's getting a bad rap just because he's getting a bad roster. Like I saw Richard Sherman calling out people who think that Antonio Pierce is like a bad coach. And he didn't actually give any reasoning for it. He just said that he got a bad hand that was dealt to him. And I'm like, well, Richard Sherman's great at dissecting a game, obviously. I mean, he's one of the smartest players that we've ever seen, obviously was super athletic, super boisterous and all that. But his bias comes through when he's making predictions and making calls like this. Look at his 49ers stuff. Like, it takes him forever to admit that the 49ers are in disarray. Like, he just won't do it. Same with the Seahawks, even though the Seahawks ended on weird terms. Like, before the season, he was all about them. In this Antonio Pierce thing, I mean, they're both from Compton. I got to think that they have, like, some form of friendship. So I think there's bias there. Kirk Herbstreit and Antonio Pierce, I'm sure, have talked together before. Kirk Herbstreit's all about Antonio Pierce whenever they play on Thursday Night Football. Like, I think that speaks to just the person who he is as a person. That's also kind of the issue I have with saying something like this about how he's not a head coach, because he seems to be like a really great dude. And I hate to say that any guy should be out of a job. But he keeps proving week after week that head coaching just ain't for him. I think he could be a coach in the NFL somewhere, but not a head coach. Not yet.
I agree with you. No, I agree with you. Linebacker coach, defensive coordinator, but to be the head coach, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah,
I think there's better options out there. If Vrabel is willing to come over and team up with Brady, and that's another thing too. Like, is Brady's going to be like, yeah, let's run it back with Antonio Pierce? I don't know how involved Antonio Pierce is going to be, or Tom Brady's going to be. I would like to think he's going to be really involved, but I don't know. And I think that they just run it back with Antonio Pierce. That would be a mistake. I did send you this clip as well, Stephen.
Oh,
and we bring this up all the time. Devontae Adams, he was a couple weeks ago where he was trying to justify his decision from going to the Raiders to the Jets. And he keeps doing this. And maybe it's because the line of questioning that Kay Adams does on this podcast. But I'm getting sick of Devontae Adams every week on this show having to explain why he wanted to go from the Raiders to the Jets. We get it. We understand. You and I completely understand why on paper it made sense. But this analogy is terrible.
Mystic person. Yeah. So I and you were very clear. I'm not a savior. I'm coming in there because it's a good situation for me and everything that sort of went down. You were very pragmatic and reasonable about it. I feel like that with the losses and everything, it's a little less optimistic, obviously. I'm getting the sense that you feel like you can't win there, that this team can't win.
Well, not this year. That's for sure. I mean, every year is a new year. It takes, it just takes a new year, a new chance to kind of turn things around. So I'm not saying that this organization is just cursed forever, but it's, it's obviously we've had a bunch of wins. I'm sure if you were tracking the Jets, you've been looking and seeing, the Jets got they got to have this one, and then just finding a way to lose. So it's really frustrating, but I definitely came in. It was the right thing to do. It made sense. Nobody can look at this move and say that it made more sense for me to stay in Vegas in the situation I was in there. If they do, then they're just hating and just talking like how they do. But at the end of the day, just if you look at the numbers, I mean, it's just like you going to war and somebody saying you got a knife and everybody else got rifles, and then somebody finds a rifle and they hand you a rifle and you say, all right, great. So you start going and you go to shoot the rifle and it jams up. That's like saying, oh, damn, I should have just kept my knife. Like, no, you did the right thing by grabbing the rifle. That thing just didn't work the way you intended it to. And sometimes that happens, and you gotta live with that and go from there. And that's kind of where I am.
I like Devontae Adams. It's hard every week to keep defending him after he says shit like that. Like, playing with the Raiders is like playing with a knife as opposed to with a rifle. And then, unprompted, he keeps bringing up, no one could fault me for wanting to leave the Raiders to go for the Jets. No one could fault me. Dude, you and I have kind of defended him in this whole thing. I get why he wanted to go, but it didn't work out for you. It's almost as shitty as the situation with the Raiders. So to act like, well, I was playing with a knife and I had to go play with a rifle with Aaron Rodgers, just be honest. At this point, you're sugarcoating it. Stop pussyfooting around, Devontae. Say what you want to say. You didn't believe in Gardner Minshew. You didn't believe in Aiden O'Connell. These stupid analogies are bullshit.
Your rifle gets jammed up in war, you're dead.
Yes.
And right now it seems like that's kind of where his career is heading. It's like it's just heading in an opposite direction. I'm not saying he's totally done, because Devontae's clearly still got skills. I know the Jets haven't been any good, and his quarterback Aaron Rodgers has declined, and he's more full of himself than ever. But Devontae still has skills, and I just think these athletes need to stop doing these weekly podcasts, man. I mean, if they hate these media obligations, if they hate doing interviews where people take everything they say out of context, stop doing these weekly interviews. I know they're probably throwing a ton of money at him. I mean, it's FanDuel, and I know these betting companies just have a shit ton of money that they could waste on anyone. But playing with thank you, AJ. Playing with Aaron Rodgers, more like a pop gun at this point. Yeah, it's not playing with a rifle. You're not playing with a rifle. you went from a knife to a baseball bat. Like I don't really. I'm only saying that because of Black Ops 6. You could use a knife or a baseball bat or a power drill. But sorry, joining the Jets, you didn't get handed a rifle, my friend. You got handed a shovel.
Yeah.
Some other tool that you can use to knock people out.
And I'm sure there's a Crocodile Dundee reference in there somewhere where it's like, oh, you think this is a knife? This ain't a knife. I had to. Actually, never seen any of those movies, but I know that reference. This ain't a knife.
Stop, dude. Oh, man. I
It's
don't even
like,
know how to respond to that.
What's up?
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Well, it's like it's one of my favorite Simpsons moments where it's like, you think this is a knife? This ain't a knife. That's a spoon. Oh, it appears you played knifey spoony before. Speaking of which, did you catch any of that Simpsons broadcast?
Got the highlights. Didn't watch it live.
I did laugh my ass off. I keep forgetting to play it on the show. They did the starting lineups of all like the Simpsons characters, and I guess Bart was Joe Burrow, Homer was Cooper Rush, Lisa was Jamar Chase,
Yeah.
Mo was CeeDee Lamb. I forget who Krusty the Clown was, but his thing was hilarious to me. And this goes back to an old Simpsons joke years ago. He's like, Krusty his real name, Krusty the Clown, Clown College, or as we call it, ASU.
Yeah.
Well done. And that goes back to an old Simpsons joke where the streets are flooded of Springfield, and Ned's like, Maude, come out here. Oh, my word. It appears that Jesus has spared the good people and taken everybody to heaven. Why is Homer Simpson over there? It appears that heaven's easier to get into than Arizona State. Not a bad joke.
I liked Bart's University of South Melbourne. You smell?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's like really old school Simpson stuff.
Yes, it is. And I liked how they had the actual voice actors doing it, like Nancy Cartwright and Hank Azaria and all them. So they brought back the old school characters.
Oh yeah, but I mean, you could tell that they're kind of aging.
Well, of course. It's been 50 years or whatever it's been.
I know, man. Hank Azaria. You know, I think Hank Azaria was like 24 when he started on The Simpsons, and now he's like in his 60s.
It's insane. And now it's kind of what he's hanging on to. His new thing on social media is just narrating his life, but in Simpsons voice characters.
I like it though, and he's a diehard Mets guy.
Yes,
so he was happy about Juan Soto. Hank Azaria happy about Juan Soto. Nicky Totoro, Brucey from The Longest Yard, not happy about Juan Soto. Good Lord. Yeah. You know what? I don't care about Juan Soto leaving, but fuck you. Fuck you.
When did that guy like become the talking head for the Yankees? When did he become the face of Yankees fans? Like he was
funny.
Just a couple of Adam Sandler movies and that's it.
Yeah, but he's got a personality. Although I love how like he's so animated about Yankees baseball, and you ask like John Turturro, and he's like, I don't care. I'm just a really, really good actor.
Yeah, that Juan Soto deal's too much. Not the money. Like I know that I'm not just like some petty Giants fan, but
15 years.
I think we're still in the I think we're still in the experiment phase with these long-term deals. We haven't seen the end of these guys that are getting 8, 10, 12-year contracts. And the only real example we have is Albert Pujols. And what, you're going to be paying Juan Soto that much money, and he might not even stick in the outfield. He's probably just going to be moved to a designated hitter. Like, if you don't win a championship in the first 8 years, I'd say, in that contract, which is a long time, but if you don't, like, what's that contract going to look like? I just don't know.
No, I mean, I hear you. So he's in line to be DH for them?
Later down the line. He's not going to play outfield forever.
Good Lord. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. That's what happens to everyone, right?
Yeah, but he's pretty young. What is he, 26?
He's very young. He's very young, but 26. But by the time he hits 31, 32, you're going to decline defensively. I'm skeptical. That's all.
When I saw that he signed for what he signed for, 15 years, $765, I was like, Jesus Christ. because
Yeah.
I didn't think he was going to make more than Ohtani, but that's his market. As much as Brock Purdy and all these quarterbacks, their market's going to be ridiculous when they get new contracts. And you know what? This is the one moment the Mets have over the Yankees. Like, as that guy said during the summertime, all the Mets have, like the guy at WFAN, all the Mets have is Hawk Tua and Grimace. And then they made the NLCS. And now they get Juan Soto. They stole him from the Yankees. This is the one thing the Mets have over the Yankees. I say whatever. Give it to them. I have no horse in this race. I don't give a shit. So Juan Soto wants to be a man. He doesn't want to be an Aaron Judge's shadow. I get it. By all means, go get your money. You want to go have a suite for your family. The Yankees wouldn't allow that. They were pretty much there. They offered 16 years for $760, and you got 15 for $765. All right, you went to the Mets. Then go do your thing, Juan Soto. Who gives a shit?
I also think that the Yankees roster that they had that made it to the World Series is a better one than the Mets will have next year, because I don't think Pete Alonso is going to be coming back. Like, look what happened. You got blown out by the Dodgers. There's going to be other teams that are better than the Mets. I know Juan Soto's a terrific ball player, but you also need to build a team around him. It can't just be him. And I know they got a good team, and I know they got a good one, but Pete Alonso's not going to be there.
Is he still a free agent?
He will be a free agent, or still is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I have to wait and see that before I actually make it. Like, I knew that Ohtani going to the Dodgers, I'm like, okay, that's the one player they need where they're going to probably win a World Series.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the Mets, I'm not so sure about that. And also, I know that there's the advanced analytics, but we need to stop with the Juan Soto, Ted Williams comparisons. Like, looking back at Ted, like he's been called the Ted Williams of this generation.
Well, he better freeze his head too.
What?
Ted Williams froze his head.
Whoa. Didn't know that.
Like Walt Disney.
Looking at his stats, though, man. Like, the dude took time off to go to war. 3 years off.
Oh, wow.
He hit 356 in 1942, comes back in 46, hits 342. Following year, 343. Like, listen, look at these batting averages. Nothing below 330 until, 1950 and 1951. But then after that, it's insane, dude. His numbers are insane. I don't want to compare him to Ted Williams and Mickey Mantle and all these all-time greats. I know it was a different day and age, but good God, man. I know Juan Soto had a career year, but we need to stop with comparing him to these legends. Before it's like it's too much, dude. Too much.
No, fair enough. Niners beat the Chicago Bears 38-13 and dominated that first half. I thought this was Brock Purdy's best game by far this season. The play action fake was going. You with me on that one, or disagree?
I disagree, because I think this was more a complete team win, as opposed to it just being like a Brock Purdy individual standout. Although I'd have to look back at what he did this season, but I don't know. I think in a weird way, I think that game is what had fans as divided as they were when trying to dissect this team. You continue here.
Well, I just think that it was his best performance as far as stats. I mean,
Right.
like 80% passing and over 350 yards, I believe. It was the most confident I've seen him in quite some time, and the snow game is, not much to look at. Probably like the better performance may have been this year against the LA Rams when he was going deep and moving around, and they ended up losing that game. Right. But just as far as a win, that's probably the best performance I've seen in Brock Purdy. And Isaac Orendo ran well. I mean, he caught well too. That kind of, lob that Purdy threw down the sideline, that was good. Kyle Shanahan was in his bag. He was, doing deep routes to Kyle Juszczyk and QB, pull read options with Brock Purdy. I thought Debo was going to go off, and when he caught a pass against Jalen Johnson, and that was about it. Juwan Jennings, I think right now is your number 2 wide receiver on this team going forward. I don't know if Debo's going to be on this team. We'll get to that in a little bit here. But if I had to guess next year, it's probably going to be the Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, and Ricky Pearsall show. And the defense played well. They got 7 sacks, really 6 sacks. There's that pesky team sack that I can't stand. You got to give one person a sack in a situation. Team sack, I don't like that. But they got it. The director of poor things, Yatir Gross Matos, goes for 3 sacks. He's got 3 names, 3 sacks. And no, don't make that face. Don't make that face. Stop it. Stop it, Steven. That was good. Leonard Floyd gets 2. But I don't know how good the pass rush is without Bosa when you're going up against that porous Bears offensive line. Now, I will say this. 24-0. The Niners had this game well in hand. But it was kind of a similar situation to the Bears last week or 2 weeks ago against the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. They were down 16-0, and 16-0 is different than 24-0. But the Bears come out right away, second half, and score a touchdown. Go for the 2-point conversion. I get it. You got to make up. Go for 2-3 times and tie the game. They don't get it. And then the Niners go 3 and out. And then on that next drive, the Bears moving the football. And then Caleb Williams has a tuck rule situation, and Jonathan Vilma needs to know the rules better. But had it not been for that fumble, I don't know if this game gets a little more dicey. However, in the end, the Niners kick the Bears' ass, and they're 6-7. And I can't say they're going to make the playoffs because at the same time, good win against the Bears. It was the Bears. And also, the Seahawks sweeping the Cardinals and the Rams beating the Bills pretty much ruined your playoff chances, in my opinion.
Right. If those other 2 teams didn't win, I mean, obviously the Cardinals even the Cardinals beating the Seahawks would have made a difference. But if those other 2 teams didn't win, then maybe we'd be talking about them differently. But again, I'm just going to reiterate that I think that game is exactly why fans were just so divided whenever they were talking about this team, because you always, for whatever reason, when you're conversing around a sports team, you got to have one sole reason. Well, this is the guy. This is the reason why the 49ers are doing this. Where in reality, it really was just everybody. George Kittle was just unbelievable, looking like his George Kittle self, and now joining Travis Kelce and Antonio Gates. And actually, I want to look at those 2. I don't think we give Travis Kelce like as much credit for what he's done just as a pass catcher, just because he's done a lot of winning, dating Taylor Swift and all these things. Just looking at the stats and seeing George Kittle being like the joining Antonio Gates and Travis Kelce is the only guys to reach a certain amount of yards and a certain amount of touchdowns by their 8th season, whatever it is. But in reality, Kyle Shanahan, scheming guys open, just had the Bears defense completely on their toes the entire time, or not on their toes, but had the Bears defense just confused literally all game. Like, guys were as open as they ever have been this year. Brock Purdy was executing to perfection, and their playmakers were making plays. The only one who wasn't was Debo, which, again, I know we will get to. But this is why fans were so divided, man, because there's always something. There's always someone that's going to come out with a take and say, you'd say Brock Purdy's best game or whatever, and then someone will say, well, no, that wasn't Brock Purdy. That was Kyle Shanahan. No, that wasn't Brock Purdy. That was George Kittle. No, that wasn't George Kittle. That was Brock Purdy. He was getting in the ball. No, the reason that Kyle Shanahan's offense was working is because Brock Purdy's the one who's directing things. Like, you always get into these stupid back and forths when at the end of the day, they were just the much better team. They completely outcoached the Bears, and then the Bears were playing with an interim head coach, and just they looked awful defensive or on offense, and it was just complimentary football, man. Just offense, defense, even the special teams doing their job. So I'm not really, there's not really too much to take away from this game. I just think this is how we saw this team playing last year against much better teams than the Bears. And it's crazy that they were doing that all of last season.
And it might be too little too late now, because given this game on Thursday, this is a must-win for the 49ers, in my opinion. In fact, I think the remaining 4 games of the season are must-wins for the 49ers to stay alive. The Rams can afford to lose this game and still win the division. If the Rams go 7-7 and they beat the Jets, they beat the Cardinals, and they sweep the Seahawks, and the Seahawks' remaining 4 games are against the Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings. They go to Chicago, and the last game of the season is against the LA Rams. I like the Rams' chances at the end of the day. Now,
Yeah.
we'll pick this game for tomorrow, Thursday night, between the Rams and 49ers, but I don't think this is a must-win for the Rams. I think it's definitely a must-win for the 49ers, but just because the Niners win this game tomorrow does not necessarily mean that they're going to the playoffs. I think it's going to be an uphill battle for them to do it.
You know what sucks though? I'll say this with injuries and all that. Danny Golding TV. I kind of have a bad feeling about tomorrow night if Garendo doesn't play. You know, speaking of players who won't play, obviously Williams is still going to be out, but Malik Mustafa not playing.
Yeah,
that sucks because they seem to have found a nice duo there with Hufanga back. Like I thought those two were playing the same position, so I didn't think they'd be playing on the field at the same time. But Mustafa and Hufanga on the field. That's a dangerous combination. It sucks that we
it is
game of them right now.
It is, but I'm with you. I thought they kind of play the same position, and I think that with Hufanga going into free agency, I don't know if he's going to be around next year. I think it would most likely be Mustafa and Jair Brown.
Jair Brown can hit, but also there's quite a few plays where it's a big play, and you see number 27 chasing after whoever caught the ball.
I know, man, but like there's going to be a lot of tough decisions this offseason where they're just going to have to go with the flow of who's the next man up. And that brings me to Deebo Samuel. So I noticed after the game, Deebo Samuel was very brief in his locker room media scrum.
Per years.
Yep, but this was very brief, especially after a win. And he gave one-word answers. And then the next day on Twitter, he tweets out that he's frustrated that he's not getting enough targets. And he followed it up with him basically saying like something along the lines of, just because I say that I'm not getting enough opportunities doesn't mean he didn't type it out right, but basically he said, I'm not calling out any of my teammates. I get his frustration, but it doesn't need to be tweeted. And then he kind of like laughs it off when people come to him during, practice this week and ask him more about it. And Kyle plays it off like it's not a distraction. It is a distraction. Like, that's the bottom line. And I think that Deebo, he knew what the deal was going into the season. I remember when Ricky Pearsall was drafted, Diana Rossini caught up with him, and he said, I know what it is. I know the deal this season. And I was anticipating this being Deebo Samuel's last year with the 49ers. But then when Ayuk gets the contract, they restructure his contract, Deebo that is. Ayuk gets the torn ACL, so maybe they need Deebo next year. But I don't know, man. The more and more I think about it, the more he's declining as a player. I don't think that they just want to let him walk at free agency. I think that they need to get something for him. And I think they need I do think they're going to do a lot of retooling this offseason, much like the Rams did after the 2022 season. So if that means that if you want to pay Purdy, that means you have to get rid of Deebo. I think that's what happens. And people are going to say, like, well, Ricky Pearsall hasn't shown me shit. Okay, but they drafted him in the first round, and that's what's going to happen eventually. You're going to have to rely on these drafted players. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are going to have to find great players in the draft, not so much free agency or trades, because you can't pay for all these guys. So if I had to guess, I think this might be the last 4 remaining games of Deebo Samuel's career as a 49er.
I'd think so. He needs to stay off Twitter. He's not good at it. I'm sorry, Deebo, you're not good at Twitter. You're not good at the podcast thing. And that's okay. You don't have to be. You're a damn good football player. It seems like he's focusing more on like his image. It seems like that ever since the receiver show. And the way he'd respond to that, he'd probably go on Twitter and say people are speaking about me when they don't even know me. Well, I'm just reacting to what I see right now. Was that community notes thing real, by the way?
That I don't know. Like I brought that up on the show, but I have no idea what any of this shit is real or anymore.
Right. It could totally be fake, but I mean, that doesn't make it any less funny.
No, I mean, it's definitely funny.
He's not getting the ball. Readers added context. He leads the team in drops. He is struggling.
And he deleted that tweet. By the way.
Yeah, but you read what you read. What if I didn't? Because you deleted it. Otis Bird, I disagree. I don't think Deebo's the heart and soul of the 49ers. I disagree. I think I think Fred Warner's the heart and soul of the 49ers. I think it's moved on from Debo. Debo, I think, embodies what the 49ers want to do, which is keep it simple, and we are just going to run straight through your face. But you haven't really seen that with Debo now.
Yeah.
Even if it's the Bears, man. Like, these run plays aren't working. And I know that people get frustrated with Kyle Shanahan's play calling, but I think it's also the idea that he's having real trouble. Here with coming to grips with the fact that Debo's not the same player as he was. And I think Debo's struggling with that same thing.
I agree with you. So, and there is validity to the whole thing. I know I keep bringing this up, but it is true. They drafted Ricky Pearsall because they didn't like what they saw of Debo in the Super Bowl. He was not getting open to man-to-man coverage, and that has been the case for most of the season.
Yeah.
The teams, I know I broke a record when it comes to this, but they saw what happened with the Baltimore Ravens, and they saw what happened with the Chiefs, and the teams are doing it more and more this year. And while Debo flashed at times this season, the deep touchdown catch and run against the Seattle Seahawks, most of it has been him being bottled up by a really good corner. And you and I have said this before, Debo is a really good player with the ball in his hands. And some might say he's a better kick returner than he is a pure wide receiver. That's what I think the Niners see in him right now, is that he's not worth the money and he's not playing well. And it's time to get Ricky Pearsall more involved. I know he's not doing it right now, but rookies rarely play well in Kyle Shanahan's scheme. So I would fully anticipate next year, it's not going to start off with Brandon Ayuk. He'll probably be on PUP maybe to start the season, but I think it's going to be Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, and Ricky Pearsall as your receiving core.
Yeah. And I also think something else with Debo. Maybe we put athletes too much on a pedestal, and maybe it's just a saying when it's like, when the going gets tough, the tough get going or whatever. You can tell the true measure of a human being is not during their success, but rather their failures. Maybe we lean too much on that, but seeing the 49ers in a down year, just haven't seen a lot of accountability. Haven't seen a lot, but we've seen Debo last year straight up say after that year that he held out that he was awful.
Yeah.
He had an awful season. So we have seen him take accountability before, but it seems he's not taking any this year. And this year, he might actually be awful.
Yeah, that could be the case. But also, Dante Whitner brought this up today, which was a good point, is like there are multiple plays last week where on a screen pass from Debo, he should score, but he's not getting the blocking that he should get from like a Spencer Burford or Colton McKivitz or whoever's out there right now. Or no, sorry, not Colton, Jalen Moore at left tackle. So let's pick this game real quick, Steven. It's Thursday night tomorrow with the Niners and Rams. And Nick Bosa's questionable, so we'll see if he actually plays. Isaac Orendo questionable. Trent Williams is out. Nevertheless, the Niners are 3-point favorites, and the over-under is 49.5.
Whoa. Listen, man, I think I'm suffering too much from recency bias because I was watching the Rams-Bills, and I think I replayed every Matt Stafford throw a billion times over, and maybe I'm leading too much on that, but feels like the Rams are hot at the right time. 49ers, they played the Bears, they dominated the Bears, but the Bears are in total disarray right now. I mean, they just fired their head coach, brought up a passing game coordinator, like they didn't know what they were doing. So I'm going to take the Rams to win, and I'll take the over just because I think we're in for a good Thursday night football game. But God, man, some of those throws Stafford made to Puka, it's just God damn, dude. Like they're 19 yards in the stat sheet, but he's throwing them from the right hash mark across his body, like hitting Puka in stride. Dude, there's plays where they're motioning Cooper. It was crazy, dude. They on the left side of the line, they had both Cooper Kupp and Nakua. They motioned Kupp first, and then they motioned Nakua, completely changed the formation, and then they had Kupp blocking. They had him blocking.
Yeah,
blocking.
I saw that. Yeah,
and there was a wide open Nakua. It's Sean McVay was in his bag against the Bills. So I got to take the Rams. I'm sorry, but I just feel like the Rams are going to win this one.
Not fair enough. Like I said before, I don't think the Rams need this one as badly as the Niners do. Although Sean McVay always wants to beat Kyle Shanahan.
Right.
And
Right.
I think the last time the Rams swept the Niners was 2018, so it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with the Niners though. I think at home they get this one, and I like the points with the Niners. I'll go under on that 49.5. But I will say this: I still think the Rams win the division, even though the Niners win this game tomorrow. In my opinion, I think the Rams will win the division. They will be your NFC West champions.
Bold.
Not really. The way it's set up, it's kind of leaning in that direction, wouldn't you say, with the schedule?
Well, I mean, the Seahawks are leading right now.
Okay, but as I said, the remaining games for the Seahawks: home against the Packers, home against the Vikings, road game against Chicago, road game against the Rams. The Rams, after this game tomorrow night, Jets, home against the Cardinals, home against the Seahawks.
It's a much easier schedule.
Yeah, that's what and let's be honest, you and I have been saying this for a while now. We kind of lean in the Rams direction because of the quarterback and coach combination.
Right.
I think it's the strongest in the division right now. And a couple of weeks ago, you asked me who if you had to rank the NFC West quarterbacks right now, I would totally change it from where it was 4 weeks ago. I would put Kyler fourth. I would put Geno third. I would put Brock 2, and I would put Matthew Stafford 1.
I think you'd have to be. I think that's appropriate because it's been the Seahawks defense that's kind of propelled them to the top spot in the West. So I could see where you're talking, dude. And it's not even. I don't even remember the guy's name, but the Rams got a D tackle too. Fisk is his name. Fisk.
Yeah, Brandon Fisk.
Wasn't the dude just named like NFL Rookie of the Month or NFC Rookie of the Month, or maybe he was for just the Rams, Defensive Rookie of the Month. But Jared Verse is expected to win Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year potentially. Well, you got the D-Roy wearing number 8, then you got the D-Moy in the interior. Whew.
The Defensive Rookie of the Month.
Oh shit, that didn't work.
Yeah, I know.
D-Roy and the D-Rom.
Yeah, and then we'll debate comeback player of the year another day here, Steven.
Oh God.
Let's do some quick hits, and let's start off.
Just one more thing from the 49ers. Mentioned George Kittle, right?
Yep.
Like numbers up there with Travis Kelce and Antonio Gates for what they did the first 8 seasons of their career. It's crazy looking at like the stats for Gates, right? And he almost 1,200 or 12,000 yards total. I mean, 116 touchdowns, crazy, right? And look at the reception numbers, though. He only had 2 seasons where he had over 80 receptions in those seasons. Those were the second and third years of his career.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Travis Kelce just completed like his 8th straight season with 80 or more receptions. And he's consistently getting over 1,000 yards in each of those years. And he also won Super Bowls in those years. Like we put Antonio Gates last year at the top of the list among the favorites who are going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. He could get in this year, but God, man, it's crazy looking at Travis Kelce's numbers and comparing them to the rest. Like even George Kittle's got a lot of work to do if he even wants to have a chance at sniffing what Travis Kelce's put up in his past. And I know they're completely different players, different offenses. George Kittle's more of a blocker, more of a complete player. I get all of that, but I think that's discounting what Travis Kelce has done as a receiver. It's unreal, man.
No, dude. I mean, I always thought that Travis Kelce was pretty much a wide receiver playing tight end, and he can block. He doesn't block as much as like George Kittle, but he could definitely get it done. And Antonio Gates to me was a really good tight end, a basketball player playing tight end. He didn't get a ton of catches, but he got in the end zone. And I always thought that Tony Gonzalez was more of a pure receiver as opposed to Antonio Gates. But think about this, man. Think about all the tight ends that have tormented the Raiders through the years. Shannon Sharp, Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, Travis Kelce. They killed the Raiders. And all of them had success against the Raiders. It was always the Raiders. Although all four of those guys kicked the Raiders' ass consistently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can never cover tight ends. Ever. All right, quick hits, real quick. That Rams-Bills game was very, very fun. 44-42. Probably Josh Allen's best performance of the year in a losing effort. 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns. And I was surprised of how much Stafford had an incredible game, but maybe it was more just the quick passing. But for the Bills to get no pass rush whatsoever on him was pretty incredible. And they're a totally different team with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. I will say this. The ending of that game, Tom Brady brought it up at the end when he was, getting hoarse with his throat or whatever the hell was going on there. He needs a Bigelow tea. The Bills scored quickly, trying to score quickly with a QB sneak with Josh Allen. But it was a good point that they didn't score right away and they had to burn a timeout. You could have used all 3 of those timeouts in the end to not do an onside kick and force the Bills to force the Rams to play first down, second down, third down, and then put it back to you. But really, they were running out of time. Fortenbaugh went on his on his radio show and totally just said that Sean McDermott is an idiot for doing that. I agree with Joe to a certain extent, but they were running out of time. And the way that the Bills lost that game was because they just gave up 44 points to the Rams.
Yeah. I was surprised that they went for the onside kick, though. I still was. I thought there was still a little bit of time left.
2 timeouts, though, man, with a minute left.
Yeah. I'm still surprised.
All right. I mean, I think in that situation, you kind of have to onside kick. I mean, either way, with how little time was left, you kind of have to onside kick either way.
Right. But, I mean, they didn't have a chance.
Yeah, I agree on that.
And Stafford and Nacua, man, those two, it's crazy.
I know, dude. Yeah, again, I think they're going to be your NFC West champions. Dude, I was wrong about that Kirk Cousins storyline. I'll tell you that. Good Lord.
Every Vikings touchdown, I cracked a smile.
What?
Thought about the podcast. Yeah.
What, just to prove me wrong?
Yes, because you were so adamant. I think this is a storyline game. Kirk Cousins going back to Minnesota.
It's getting sad. It
was close there, but
it was until they pulled away in the fourth quarter to score 21 points and win 42-21. And Sam Darnold might be your comeback player of the year.
Yeah, no, you were right on that one. You were dead wrong on the game, but you were right about Sam Darnold and what he was doing with his career.
Oh, dude, give me a little props because I think I said before the season started he's going to have a career high in passing yards and touchdowns.
You did.
Okay, thank you.
You did.
And yes, if it's not Russell Wilson, I think Sam Darnold's in your conversation for comeback player of the year, maybe even MVP, but I don't know about that right now. Kirk Cousins, the last 4 weeks, you know how many touchdowns he's thrown?
0.
You know how many interceptions he's thrown?
Oh no. Last 4. Let me go 8.
1 off, 7.
Not
good. Not good for old Kirko. And yeah, the Vikings. Coop. Yeah. Poor Coop. Steelers get revenge on the Browns. Jameis Winston wanted to be delivered from pick sixes. Didn't throw any pick sixes, but threw some interceptions. And the Steelers win this game 27-20 or 27-14. The Steelers are a better team.
Yeah. I don't really know what to take away from this. I didn't on the highlights that I watched and also just kind of watching on Red Zone. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that impressive a win. The Browns just stink right now.
Yeah, they do. What else? Oh, Panthers and Eagles. Close game. And you called this one, Steven. This kind of helped you with the picks. Panthers are keeping things close right now by covering games. And the Eagles win this game. Saquon Barkley becomes the single-season leader for rushing yards for the Eagles, surpassing LaShawn McCoy. But the big outcome, or the big fallout from this game, and I agree with A.J. Brown, is the passing game. Jalen Hurts has not been, throwing for 103 yards. And yeah, in order for them to take the next step to beat the Detroit Lions, they need to have a better passing game going right now. So everyone's kind of making this out to be like a Terrell Owens and Jonathan McNabb situation. I don't think it's there yet. Brandon Graham kind of alluded to them not having a good relationship, but I totally get what like AJ Brown wants this team to be successful. And right now, probably the one thing they're lacking in is a passing game.
Sure, but their defense has been phenomenal this year.
It has.
So,
Vic Fangio doing a great job with their defense.
But if you're talking about like a matchup with the Lions, no, they're not going to win in an offensive shootout, but that defense could certainly. I don't want to say stop the Lions, because I don't think any defense can really stop the Lions, but can at least limit them, slow them down a little bit.
Yeah. Not a lot of great games this past weekend. I'll just say this: the Jets
were terrible, Derek. The morning slate was god awful.
I know. And then this upcoming week, it's actually pretty bad again, but the late games are really good for week 15. Just real quick, the Jets aren't capable of holding on to a lead. Like at times this year, they are a really bad football team, but the offense did enough sometimes to win games, and their defense just let them down. Like, case in point, this game, to have a lead for the majority of the game against the Miami Dolphins, and then, God, right away, like the Dolphins kick a 52-yard field goal to go as time expires to go to overtime, and then right away they score a touchdown to win the game. And Tua had crazy numbers. Aaron Rodgers actually had a pretty good performance too, throwing for over 300 yards for the first time as a Jet quarterback. And Tyreek Hill went off 10 receptions for 115 yards. But man, there's so many games this year where the Jets had leads. Like I think against like the Seahawks and the Colts, and this game too. So they'll blow it up probably, but you can't blame it all on the offense.
I don't really have much of a takeaway from this one.
Fair enough. And then the Seahawks just know how to beat up on the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
Their defense is clicking right now. Kyler Murray throwing interceptions to the Seahawks players. I think throwing to Kobe Bryant 2 of the last 3 weeks. Or whatever it was, the time frame. Yeah, Seahawks have the Cardinals number. That's all I can say about that game.
Shout out to Zach Charbonnet, man. He was on my bench in fantasy. He absolutely torched the Cardinals. I think he had like over 200 yards passing and receiving and rushing. So shout out to him.
The Sunday night game was frustrating with the Chargers and Chiefs. I thought that Justin Herbert got hurt, and I guess he was held out of practice today. But God, if they just had a little bit more offense, they could have won this game. And it was the same exact score of last week with the Raiders and Chiefs, 19-17. The Chiefs just do enough to win, and it's so infuriating. And that doink, like the Matthew Wright, your guy, y'all, man, Matthew Kicker, y'all, Matthew Wright, because he was with Mike Tomlin on a short week, and that's how Mike Tomlin introduced him to everybody on the Steelers. It's one of Steven's favorite NFL films clips.
My favorite thing ever.
Like the Matthew Wright doink to win the division, it was so fucking loud.
I know.
And when does a doink that loud go in?
Never.
I thought they were going to win that game. Chargers they're a good team, and they turned it around, and they should be proud of the season they've had with Jim Harbaugh. But damn, they really missed an opportunity to win that game against the Chiefs.
At the end of the day, they know how to win, dude. But one thing you got to look at, the penalty. The penalty right after that kickoff.
The
penalty on the Chargers. It gave the Chiefs
the landing zone.
Yeah, it gave the Chargers the ball, or the Chiefs the ball at the Chargers 40, and all they had to do was just play Chiefs football. Like, they are the best of the best when it comes to those types of situations. So to start that off with a penalty, I don't know what it is. The football gods just seem to love the Chiefs.
Yeah, you made me think of Men in Black there. You're the best of the best of the best.
You're the
with
best
honor.
Of the best of the best, sir.
With honor. And then the Monday night game, kind of a snoozer for most of it. But I will say, what's my man's name? Amani Ojuware,
Uh-huh.
the defensive back for the Dallas Cowboys, becoming the new Leon Lett.
Oh boy.
All-time gaff, all-time blunder. You block a punt, just let it go, my man. Just let it go. And he touched it, and the Bengals recover, and then boom, right away, touchdown pass to Jamar Chase to win the game. Just that, and Micah Parsons' reaction on the sideline was priceless. Just what are we doing?
Yeah, getting ready for his podcast. That was the joke.
Do you think the Dallas Cowboy players knew the rule? Because I think some of them were like puzzled, like, "Are you serious? They get the ball back? What is this shit?"
Yeah, I don't think they did.
Yeah, that's what I think too. All right, that's all I got for tonight, man. Anything else you want to bring up?
I just from that Bengals Cowboys game, I'm sure you saw the Joe Burrow thing earlier, where his house was burglarized as well.
Yeah, that's becoming a thing now.
Oh, dude, it's a huge deal. It's the FBI's involved in it. They connected it to some South American theft groups. It's insane.
This is the story we talked about a couple weeks ago, right? My Casper Troy my joke that I made up with it.
Yeah. Yes.
Or sorry, Castor Troy.
Yes. Like this one, it's just like the others. They wait until they're not home.
Yeah.
Obviously he didn't have that much security around, didn't have any security around. There was a shattered bedroom window and had a bunch of stuff taken. Although this might not be from the group because apparently this place was just, his house was ransacked. Like these people, these groups have been going in and just stealing like jewelry, prized possessions real quick. They haven't like made much of a mess. This one seemed to be a mess. So this might not be connected to it, but dude, the details that have come out now, some Home Alone type shit, Home Alone 3 specifically, where
well, with Joe Burrow looked like a Macaulay Culkin. I was hoping it was Home Alone 1 and 2.
Dude, they got people who are jogging in the neighborhoods. They got people acting as if they are maintenance workers, like landscapers or whatever. They got, I already said joggers. What was the other thing? There was one other thing that I mentioned, but it's something straight out. There's that. And there's one more. There's one other thing they're doing.
Pool boys?
No, not pool boys.
Delivery men?
No, they're pretending to be delivery people. They're pretending to give deliveries just so they could scope out the house. I'm like, what the hell's next? Are we going to learn that they leave the water on in these houses as their calling card and
the wet bandits?
Like, what the hell is this, man? And so, yeah, it sucks for him, but hey, maybe don't go on Hard Knocks and say that you're going to spend $3 million on a Batmobile.
Well, that's what I was wondering was the Batmobile intact?
That thing is not going to get sent over for another year.
Okay. All right, fair enough. And yeah, that always bothered me in the first Home Alone. Just Joe Pesci is the cop just walking around the house. And no one gives a shit. No one thinks this is weird?
No one cares. No one cares.
I always hated that.
Pizza's around, milk, whatever. Milk. I'm trying to remember the first movie.
Must be nice to have a nice suburban house.
And one other thing, Derek.
Yes.
We watched Christmas with the Cranks the other night. That's a horror movie. That's a horror movie. Masquerading as a Christmas movie.
All right. Can I save my take on that movie next time we do the podcast on Saturday?
Yes.
Okay.
Scared the shit out of me.
That movie is so, I'll save it, but it just makes me gag a little bit because it's just so like, you have to celebrate Christmas. You have to celebrate Christmas. If you don't, you're an asshole.
That's the thing. That's what scares me, dude. It's a cult.
Yes.
It's terrifying.
Now, a better movie? I'll Be Home for Christmas with Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
No, it's not. That's a terrible movie.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
He is the world's oldest kid.
Santa Desert Tumbleweed. What does he say? In the phone. Jessica Biel.
You know it better than me, man.
Christmas Santa Desert Tumbleweed. Okay. That's the signal to the end of the podcast.
If I ever heard it. All right, everybody. We'll be back on Saturday. Probably our usual time at 11. To everybody in the chat tonight. To Ernie 1, Ernie 2, AJ Cruz, Jesse, Danny Golding TV, I remember was in here earlier. Otis Bird is the word. And I believe that is it. And if I'm forgetting anybody, I apologize. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Steven, say what you always say.
Home Alone 3 is better than Home Alone 2 and Home Alone 1. That's just our opinion, man.